Big Sky howdy, and welcome back, everybody, to another episode of World Bigfoot Radio. This is the Duke, and I'm once again joined by my friend Kevin, who is telling us the Glagg saga. And as you recall from the last time that he was on, they had just gotten Glagg moved up to the new area, and it had been quite the adventure trying to find one for him where they figured he'd be okay, and it seemed like this one was going to work out good. It was a long ways out there, like another 20 miles further than where he had been originally, but now it was like a lot safer place for him to run around the mountains and explore and hang out and be friends and not have to worry about other humans running into him or anything bad happening potentially, hopefully, with other Bigfoot clans or troops around the area. So once again, like I said, let me bring back Kevin. Great to have you back, buddy.
Hey, how you doing, Duke?
Doing great. So yeah, we talked before we came on the air about doing a little viewer/listener mail here for the tons of questions that we've been getting, and it's kind of a nice thing that we didn't record all this in one gigantic session, so we can actually take your questions and answer some of them as we're going along with the whole saga. And so actually Kevin himself went ahead and grabbed the questions that he thought would be the best ones to answer right off the bat here.
Okay, and I just have a couple that, for Cindy, I just want to say be patient. That's yet to come. For Peter, not that I ever saw, but his natural abilities never ceased to amaze me. And Pat, about the alcohol thing, I'm sorry, buddy, I wasn't old enough at the time. I was just a kid.
Thank God. First of all, it would bankrupt you to get him drunk, and then who wants a drunk at the Sasquatch? No way.
It could have been fun, but no, I was at this time I was like 16. I didn't start drinking for another year or so. And just a comment that I wanted to make several people. My motorcycle that I rode up there that I had when I was a kid, when I was 14, I bought for $20, and it was a rolling chassis, 3 extra tires, 2 extra wheels, and 5 milk crates full of parts. The only way that my parents would let me get a motorcycle is because it was not running. And 3 weeks later, when I rode down the street on it, my mom was ticked. So it's not like I spent $1 million on a brand new motorcycle. It was an old pile of junk parts that I happened to get running and ride down the road in it. And I had an old piece of junk motorcycle that took every spare penny I made to keep it running.
It was the same kind of high-quality equipment that I had when I was a kid.
Yeah. When I got my first racing bike, I spent every penny that I had made and saved up to buy a lot better racing bike. It wasn't new. It was new to me. But I couldn't spend the money on a camera. I didn't want to. I wanted to buy a better motorcycle. And like we talked about before, cameras were not what they are now. It would cost me more than my second motorcycle for a good camera.
And what would you want it for? To document something you're trying to hide the presence of?
Exactly. I didn't want people to know about him, so I never even thought about a camera. Now that I'm older, man, I wish I would have had just one picture.
Yeah. One
of me and him together. That'd mean the world to me right now, but it's something I didn't think about back then. It just in a different time, the camera was a hassle and expensive. You had to buy the film. You had to pay to get the film developed. Somebody else is going to see it if I did take pictures of him when they develop it.
Yep. That's how I got the Mayaka skunk ape photos. They had been developed at a local film developer, and they figured out what film developer the pictures had actually been developed at, and that's why they figured out roughly where the area was that the pictures had been taken.
Yep. All right, that was just a couple of comments that I had seen that I could just quickly comment. those on. But is there any other questions that you'd come across that you'd wanted to ask?
I'm not sure if you covered the one or not. The one that comes up a lot is that did he ever show any examples of any kind of paranormal powers at all? I think maybe that was one that you got.
Yeah, that was the one that I was getting at. That no, not that I ever saw. If you wasn't around him as much as I was, the natural abilities that he had could seem paranormal.
Yeah.
Just his ability to blend in to the environment was just amazing every single time. I mean, he could walk off into the trees and like disappear. And I know he wasn't disappearing. There's plenty of times that I was following him and you just couldn't see him. When it gets thick in there and it's just like, I wasn't paying attention several times, and as we're walking along, me right behind him, and walked right into him because he'd stopped, and I didn't realize he had stopped. I thought he was still 8 or 10 feet in front of me.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
No, well, to you, but at that time his butt's right about face level.
Well, that's part of the reason it was hilarious to me, yeah.
So when I run into it, I'm face planting right in his butt crack.
Well, here's one that I wanted to bring up. Now we're like at the beginning of the second year, and at the beginning of when you first found Glagg, he was like 6'6" and 350 roughly, right? So
yeah.
How much bigger is he at this point 2 years later?
Oh, probably pushing 8 foot and right about 750, 800.
Okay.
It's a big boy. He's always, just like I said several times before, every single time I went up there, he's bigger. And
yeah.
It just, when we first met to my size, it's just every time we'd goof around and play, it's just, he's always, like when we'd be rolling around in the grass and stuff, and he'd roll over on top of me, it wasn't pleasant after the first year.
You get mushed.
It was like I said, I got hurt a bunch, not like intentionally, but just his size.
Yeah. I suppose even if he was trying to be gentle, it'd be really easy to accidentally hurt you.
Yeah. Well, it happened more times than I can count, and it wasn't anything, malicious. It's just, and that's what I mean about his intelligence, was realizing that how fragile I was, even though I thought, when you're a kid, you think you're invincible, but, that's kind of humbling.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose that would kind of tend to lessen that belief a lot, especially when you got a friend that's like that much bigger, stronger, and faster than you are, and it's like, I could get pretty easy compared to him.
Yeah, especially then after seeing what kind of power he could put into a punch. Yeah. Holy cow.
When did you get a chance to, like, do punching drills with him against trees or something and ever see what you could do with it?
Well, I didn't try to hit a tree, but I saw him gather firewood and, a lodgepole pine, snap it off.
Oh,
and it's like...
With a punch?
But, more kind of like a slap, but kind of hard to explain. But it wasn't like rearing back and, doing a full-on punch. It was... the power generated in 8 or 10 inches, not a full swing. It'd snap off a 3 or 4 inch round, lodgepole. But that was Glagg, and dry wood burn and little stuff. Little to me, not little to you. Twigs and branches. Yeah, not a green lodgepole, but that'll be good firewood next year. The dry brush that he gathered up, sticks and stuff, he got pretty good at that too. There's always a supply of firewood. Get
waiting
to
for you
burn.
to get there and light it up, right?
Yes.
How good did he get? Did you guys still have the same system and tell him roughly when you were going to be back there again?
I tried.
He'd be around there?
I tried. I'd say if I'm not, I'll try to come back on this day, or if I'm not here on this day, it'll be this day. I always tried my best. If I couldn't make it on the first day, on the second day that I told him.
Mm-hmm.
But he was farther back in there, so I couldn't go up, on a day trip like I used to. But I was able to go up and spend more time, when I did go, I was able to spend more than just an afternoon. I'd go up and spend a day or two. But they were fewer and farther between. And he's getting, to more where he can, I didn't need to provide anything, but, he's able to fend for himself that way.
Well, you still needed companionship,
Yes. Well, and so did
humans and all of the higher primates are social and need interaction. Unless they're like weird hermits or something.
I do remember one comment touching on that. Somebody asked about needing the interaction, and yes, we cuddled a lot. Not weird about it, but yeah, he'd always give me a hug when I'd come up. We'd always, when I'd lay down, he'd lay, kind of like a kid will lay on your lap, but he was like the St. Bernard sitting on your lap. His head and shoulders is, laying across me, and then it got to where it'd be me laying on, putting my head up against his leg while we're sitting there. And when I'd read, I'd lay down and with my back to the fire and with my head on his leg, and I'd read, propped up against him. But yeah, the interaction, what's the word? The affection, that was always there. And very similar to what humans do.
Yeah.
Not anything weird. It's just, it's like a child with a parent,
Yep.
That same type of affection. And I was always like that. Yes, that was something that he craved just like a human child would.
Yeah. Yeah, like we hypothesized here earlier that, mentally, developmentally, he was probably significantly younger than you were. So, you were going into your late teens and, he was like halfway to being an adult and still basically a kid and really needing to have interaction with someone else.
And see, I never realized that. I always thought he was about my age, which could explain a lot also why, we got along so good. He was a lot younger than me, but a lot bigger, but it makes sense now. But back then, I just kind of thought he was the same age as me. But if he would have been more sexually mature, things might have been different.
Yeah. Well, again, and there's also, I was talking to Brenton Son recently, and he had on a guest that had interaction with a little female Sasquatch when they were little. And when she got to a certain age, she basically told him she couldn't come see him anymore and that she would get in trouble, and that was the end. So it's like the same way they protect their females, especially when they get to a certain age, it's like there's always a male with them. They just can't get away from some other member of the troop and go sneak off, And then there's the males get, territorial and aggressive as soon as they get, testosterone, probably just like the way human teenagers do. And boys start turning into men, and they get all pimply and aggressive and weird and start getting all that testosterone flowing in their system that they're not used to. And that tends to be the way it is with the great apes. They get, they get bigger and gnarlier.
Everybody loves everybody until they start turning into adults, and then they start fighting with everybody.
Yeah, pretty much.
Why can't we always just be kids?
The weird thing is I've seen like a bunch of footage of baby animals of different species, like interacting with each other, and ones that are like predator and prey animals in the regular world. And
yes.
since they're baby animals, they don't know the other one's a threat, and they're like best friends.
Yes. Like the lion and the springbok that were both a cub and a fawn that were both abandoned for some reason and became friends. And then once they get older, then the lion had to keep protecting the... Oh, one thing I wanted to say was, it's about me, but I appreciate the listeners and the positive comments. I know that my speech isn't as good as some people in the world, but there's a reason for it. And I just appreciate the people that have noticed the fact that there is something wrong. I have had a stroke, and not through any fault of mine. The incompetence of a medical professional just about killed me and caused me to have a stroke. So that's why my speech isn't as eloquent as it used to be, and why there's pauses, and why it sounds like there's something wrong. It's because there is. But I appreciate the people that look past that and just listen to the story and don't, sling negative comments because of the way I talk. I just really appreciate that.
Well, you're just lucky you got that going for you. They can hear right past it and tell you sound like a hillbilly mountain man, and then they'd be picking on you for that.
Well, I pick on myself about my hickness, but
the hickness of it all. Oh my God, the hickness. You sound just fine, buddy. Don't worry about it. People are just happy to hear your story.
It's bothered me ever since it happened, but there's nothing I can do about it. I apologize if it bothers you, but thanks for looking past it.
And yeah, I do my best to edit out all the big pauses and stuff too, and try and make it so that he sounds even way better than he already does, which is just perfectly fine anyway. So don't worry about it, man. You're covered. But anyway, so I think that pretty much covers most of the questions there and stuff. So let's get back to the actual account here now. It's like the second year, you got them up there. Now you can cook. You can have fires. You don't have to worry about somebody's going to see the smoke right away. You can run around the hills and stuff. Now at this point, he's a lot bigger, so you probably can't wrestle around much. What kind of stuff are you doing to amuse yourselves other than reading around the fire?
Well, we did stuff like any kids would do that are in the mountains. We went exploring.
Fun.
Went goofing off. There's no adults around. We're going off having fun, and there's no curfew.
Right. Man, I would be so confident running around the mountains with a Bigfoot right next to me. Yeah. I'd be like, no, I'm not scared of nothing.
Well, that was why, if I had it to do over again, I would stay right by the fire with my gun on my lap. I wouldn't be running off around out there like we did, but because I know what else is out there. He's not the only one. Back then, I was fat, dumb, and happy. I did, just having fun. There was the times that, signs that every once in a while would come up that didn't really occur that's what it was, but knowing what I know now, there was stuff that we would do that make me realize that now that there's something else there, if that makes sense. But what we did was, there was one time the river was quite a ways. You remember there was a creek that was pretty close to where I always stayed when I went up there. And like I said, where he actually stayed was farther away. I didn't get to go back there for quite a while, because it was way, way back in there where I'd park my bike or my snow machine and get back in from there. It was a nice spot, but about 2 miles, down a couple of ravines down through the mountains, there was a river down there, and we'd go down there and play in the river without chance of seeing a jet boat come up the river or fishermen or anything, because it's way, way back in there. It's back in the backcountry. And that was cool. In deeper water than just, ankle or knee deep creek, we'd have, a river that, was over his head in spots, in some of the deeper spots, and just playing in the river. And it
did Did he swim pretty well?
Better than I did.
Did you observe him doing like, some people said that they seen one doing like the frog kick sort of swimming style?
With the way the water was moving, he could swim upstream underwater.
Wow.
Yeah, how he did it, I don't know. I never did actually, the river as it was flowing, you couldn't really see.
Strong as he is, he might have went down to the bottom and just grabbed on the rocks and pulled himself across the bottom too.
See, that could have been, but and that's another thing is the playing in the river. Every time we'd go down, he'd stop and watch me get undressed and start giggling.
Did he have to point you every time or just giggle?
He'd just, when I'd take off my shoes, he'd start giggling. And then when I'd take off my shirt, he'd start giggling even louder. And then when I'd get down into my swimming my underwear, when I get down to my underwear, I'd finally just tell him, "Shut up and get in the water." Yeah,
sorry,
like
we're feeding and pitiful. We don't have hair like you do.
Well, and then as a kid, I had one hair on my chest. I mean, when I was 16.
Did you point it out to him especially and say, "Look"?
I said, "Look, I like that one. Getting close." It was endearing, though. It was, that was fun because it was always like, "Oh, great. Now he's going to make fun of me." Now think of that. Here I am. A Sasquatch is making fun of me because I'm naked. I mean, how do you explain that to somebody?
Naked, it's because you don't have no hair on you. That's
what I mean. I'm truly naked. I didn't got any hair covering me. I have to cover up with this other stuff. He's got.
No, I can totally see. Yeah, like Kat says, they have kind of a weird sense of humor. From our standpoint, it's all like slapstick humor. Of course,
it's very visual. Silent film, how it was all, the slapstick.
Yeah.
It's the visual stuff that just cracked him up. And then is when trying to explain to him that he's a Bigfoot. Funny because it's like, do you know what you are? And they'd look at me like, "What you talking about, Willis?" Like, "You're a Bigfoot. See, come here. Put your foot right here. See?" And I'd have my bare foot in the mud, and I'd put my foot down. He's like, "Put yours right there." And it's 3 times the size of mine. See, you're a Bigfoot. Yeah. And he's like, "So? Okay, yeah." It wasn't, to him it was like, "Yeah, I have a big foot. Okay,
yeah,
I'm bigger than you."
Did you ever get it across to him that that's actually what people call them?
I don't think
Bigfoot.
I don't think that it was ever important, but it's like, "You're a Bigfoot," and he's like, "Yeah, I have big feet."
Well, if he ever hears a human say that out in the woods, he'll probably know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm over here. It's a big feet. I got big feet. I better look up.
Yeah. I always wanted to make a pair of boots for him, but
scare the hell out of somebody. There's these friggin' 20-inch boots tracks going up the mountain. What the hell? There's just Paul Bunyan's loose out here. So now, you couldn't, swim every day. It wasn't, this is the mountains we're talking about. It's not hot enough, even during the summer, not every day.
Yeah.
So what other sort of things were you guys doing then?
Well, that's when I told you that in the process of trying to find him the place to move after that initial time that he picked me up and carried me, it got to be where that was one of my favorite things to do because when he'd pick me up and just walk, we're moving faster than I could run. And the sensation, it's undescribable. It's just amazing. And then when he would run, it was just, holy cow, it's like going down the road on a motorcycle, but totally silent. When he'd take off running, never, where you see encounters or hear about encounters of where they're going through the bush and it sounds like like a bulldozer going through there or a freight train, but you also hear the ones to where something was lightning quick and didn't make a sound.
Yeah.
If he's not going through thick brush, you could barely hear the thump of his feet when he's moving. When he's motivating and carrying me, it was quiet. That always struck me as that was odd. And that's where the natural ability, I don't know how he did that.
The other possibility there is the anatomical oddity pointed out by Albert Ostman, where he noticed during the 5 days that he was with the Sasquatch family that they had big old huge thick pads on the bottom of their feet. And the video of Patty at Bluff Creek also shows the same thing. And so if they're as big and heavy like an elephant is, which they are, and an elephant has pads on their feet like that, and they do. And by the way, an elephant can walk completely silently too. It just goes to follow that that could be one of the things that they're employing to be really silent when they're moving through the underbrush and whatnot. You know,
it's just a natural.
Yeah, unless they're physically swatting something out of the way, they don't really make any noise. Yeah, I mean, same thing with elephants. I've heard people that have run into elephants in thick jungle. Like, you need a machete to hack your way through it. And here comes a friggin' elephant, and they don't see it until it's like 20 feet away. And they didn't hear it at all.
Yep.
They watch it walk through. It's barely making a sound, and when it gets like 20 or 30 feet away, the jungle swallows it up, and they can't even hear it anymore. It's an elephant. Yeah, I can totally believe that. Yeah, it is. Very much so. It was to them, too. Like, I don't want to be in the thick jungle where there's elephants around because we don't know that we're going to run into them until we've run into them.
Oh, wouldn't that make it be a Charmin moment?
Oh, God. The only thing worse than running into a moose. Running into an elephant in thick jungle.
Yes. Because a moose is not afraid of you at all. Like other stuff out there.
Before we go too much further there with where we're going now, let's finish off with the swimming in the water and stuff like that. Did you guys ever practice hold your breath, who can stay underwater the longest, or anything like that?
No, because he could stay underwater a lot longer than I could hold my breath. I already saw that.
Yeah. Did he ever show you that, like how long he could stay underwater?
Well, just when he'd go under and come up, someplace totally different that I had no idea he was that far away. And, it was a couple minutes, and I could only hold my breath for about a minute and a half. And there's no way I could hold my breath as long as him. When I was in practice, I could hold it maybe a little bit longer than that, but never much more than about a minute and a half. It tops, 45 seconds is the most I was comfortable staying under. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like if you're just sitting there not moving. If you're trying to swim around, you're going to be running out of air even faster. So, yeah, and again, this, matches with things that we've heard in other encounters and stuff, including the ones where they actually have a lair that's constructed under the surface of the lake. There's an underwater opening, and then there's a dry cave that you get in through being underwater to get into it.
Yep.
And they think there's a case down in the south here where some of these people that have gotten missing around this lake have been actually grabbed by a hostile squatch that lives in this underground cave, basically on the lake. And people have seen them swimming around underwater and shit too. So very disconcerting.
That brings up a whole world of possibilities on some of the missing people cases, doesn't it?
Yeah, especially right around the water. Well, there's no gators here. Where'd they disappear to?
And something worse than gators.
Yeah.
If it's going to take you under.
Yeah, and can hold its breath for a couple minutes easily until you're long since dead.
Move on from other stuff that we did. Is that what you're meaning?
Well, no. Let's I want to actually hear about all the hijinks you guys are having after you finally got it moved out there to a safe place. Your swimming is one of the things you did. You said you did a bunch of hiking around and exploring. Did you have any interesting encounters or adventures during the course of doing that?
Well, I started riding piggyback on him quite a bit, and that, we could cover some. So he wasn't carrying you in his arms like a baby anymore at this point. You were hanging onto his back. That was only when I was really tired would he do that anymore. But it got to where I'd climb up on his back, man, and that in and of itself was difficult because it was so big. But it's not like how a human carrying a kid, when they're hanging around your neck, you hold on to their legs. His back was wider than a horse.
Yeah.
It was just mainly just hanging on. And then it'd be like, Glagg, run, let's run. And it'd say, okay. And it's like, Glagg, slow down, I'm falling off, and boom.
Oh.
It's like getting dumped off a motorcycle at 45 miles an hour. It'd go rolling through the forest, more than one bump and bruise. Glagg, slow down, I'm falling. And then he comes back laughing because I did fall off.
Do you ever accidentally hit any brush and knock you off that way or anything like that?
I think it wasn't accidentally. I think it was.
Okay.
Well, it gets back to the sense of humor.
Yeah.
As long as I wasn't hurt like real bad, it was funny as all get out. Watch little human go bouncing down the hillside.
Oh, my poor human buddy fell off and bounced down the hillside again. Well, I better collect him.
And I didn't even get it kicked up into high gear, and he couldn't hold on.
Oh man, that develops some upper body strength considering how fast they can run. I can imagine it wouldn't be that easy to hang on, especially if he was making any kind of sharp turns or anything.
It wasn't. And remember, I was a tough kid and pretty strong too, but man, hanging on and then getting used to that sensation. I mean, there's no way to describe it. It's something that unless you've hung on to the back of a Bigfoot in him running, there's no way for me to describe it to you. It's just an unbelievable, unreal feeling. And it just, I guess, surreal would be the word I guess I'm looking for. It's why I always wanted to do it. I would never be able to move that fast on my own, ever.
Right.
And I know he never got up into top gear. I know he never ran as fast as he possibly could because I wouldn't have been able to hang on.
Oh, man. Wow.
Now, there was a few times that when stuff like that was going on, there's stuff that, I would love, like I've said before, I'd love to go back with the wisdom I have now, and I would have paid more attention to. But when we're out there playing and having fun and giggling and laughing and running through the forest or running down, a deer trail, and then Glagg would just all of a sudden stop, and the whole attitude had changed, and it's like, let's go back, let's go eat, let's go make a fire, and just instantly go from having fun to turn around and go back, just instantly.
That's a tad concerning.
Yeah, and well, it's like, oh man, he gets hungry quick, is what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But
Did you notice any other weird signs? I mean, other than like his suspicious behavior?
Well, that's when I noticed an X on one of the times when that happened, up in the trees ahead of us. I don't think he was paying attention because we were goofing off, and there was a big X, big X up in the trees ahead of us, probably about 100 yards or so. And we turned around and boogied back to the direction of where we had came. And that time when I saw that big X, he picked me up and run. Not jog. Yeah, he picked me up and run back. And I didn't think anything of it at the time. But, and then everything was fine when we got back.
So that time he scooped you up, carried you like a baby. You weren't hanging on his back.
Yeah.
Now, interesting thing that occurs to me is that they've got that different walking method than we do, where they have the tightrope step and we do a staggered step. And it also looks to observers like they don't seem to bob up and down very much. Did you notice that when you're hanging on his back that he didn't do as much up and down bobbing as he does? It wasn't a rough ride. It was just the speed in his size.
Okay.
That's
why it was hard to hang on. No, It was never rough. And when he was carrying me like a baby, there was no bounce.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, so, I never realized it. But now the compliant gait, I believe is what it's called. How it looks like they're gliding, not actually walking.
Yeah. They don't actually ever straighten their legs completely out, which would have been an interesting part of trying to teach him a front snap kick. Because so, like, your legs don't want to do that anyway. This is going to be tough.
Yeah, well, and that's why I said the kicks were kind of funny.
Yeah. Like, he didn't straighten his leg completely, and yet it seemingly still had tremendous power in it.
Yep. What I had him do more than a front kick was a side kick, but it was still an awkward side kick. But
do you think he ever got any good in? Did he seem to get any good at it?
Not at kicks.
Awkward.
But no? I imagine if he would have connected with me with that one of those, it would have been devastating. But it was never anything that was. It was more that when you would do that, it was just more for fun.
Yeah.
Because it was something I don't think he would have ever got good at, was a kick like that.
Taylor tells me one of the interesting things he's seen one of them do was actually, like, kick a tree with the side of their foot, not with the pad on the bottom, not with the top of their foot, but like if you're karate chopping somebody, it's the edge of your hand. Well, it was doing the same thing with the edge of its foot, and it just kicked a tree, and it made a wood knock with it.
Huh, yeah. Well, they're not fragile like us, and yeah,
apparently. And he said, he was really surprised because he's also heard them do it with their mouth, where they do like a pop, and the throat like expands like a bullfrog or something, and then they do this incredibly loud pop, which also sounds like a wood knock. Yeah,
like seen that before, not with him, but I've seen people talk about that where the wood knock, what sounds like a wood knock is actually made by their mouth.
It wouldn't surprise me at all. I mentioned that to my current upstairs neighbor, Jeff, actually can do that. He can do a pop like that, and it's like if you're standing within 10 feet of him and he doesn't tell you he's doing it, you'll be shocked and like your ears will ring. Mm-hmm. And he's just a little 150-pound guy. You know, imagine what an 800-pound Bigfoot could do if they're trying to do the same thing. It'd be tremendously loud.
Yeah.
He uses it to make the neighborhood dogs shut up. They'll be over there barking on the other side of the fence, and he'll walk out and do that, and they'll just be like, whoop.
Yeah. Don't know what that was, but I don't want it to come over here.
Sounds like a branch breaking or a gunshot or something almost, you know, and that's, like I said, from a 150-pound guy, so you can imagine what a huge Bigfoot could do with it. Awesome.
Oh. There's just, I don't know what all to say. It's just, you know, whenever I'd go up for that next, you know, that whole next summer when we was up there, it was just me and him being friends without any rules, without any worries that I saw. I'm sure there was, but it was just having fun and just enjoying going up there and being with him and just goofing off without worry of anybody, you know, ridiculing me or harassing me, not ridiculing, but harassing me, or, you know, just some of the happiest times of my life was spent up there.
When you were reading him stuff from books, did he seem to understand what you were reading to him? Did he ever ask you, like, questions about him or anything?
Yeah, but exactly what? I remember, like, when I'd read and I would read something and he'd want to know what's that, like a word specifically. Right now I can't think of anything, but there was times that he'd stop me and ask, what's that? Mm-hmm. And then try to explain to him what you know, like in a Dr. Seuss book, what's a zizzer, zazzer, zazz? It's just a goofy word. Not really anything, but it's something like that.
Drawing that Dr. Seuss did, in which case you could show him the picture.
Yeah, but it was just, you know, that was just a for example. But, you know, off the top of my head right now, I can't think of anything. But yeah, that did come up several times. Where when I was reading something,
because it shows, how much attention he was actually paying to what you were saying and how much he was following what it was that you were saying.
Yeah, and that's what always got me about the intelligence is, and I think every time I read, he was listening and paying attention every time, even if it was no matter what it was, you know, whether it was a goofy Dr. Seuss book or out of the New Testament, he was paying attention to what I said.
Now, it sounds like he's just about the best friend you could hope for. That must have been awesome having him.
It was. It saved me. Give me peace of mind at that time when I didn't get it anywhere else.
Yep. Yeah, I'm glad you were there to help him too, or he wouldn't have survived it. It sounds like he would have had a really rough time of it.
Yeah, and it's always times like that just, just remembering all that. Sorry about that. It just gets me choked up every once in a while.
Oh, that's fine, man. Totally understandable. I think everybody is, those of us that have been lucky enough to actually have a best friend and unfortunate enough to lose them know exactly what it feels like.
Yep. Mercy.
Oh, you got to just try and focus on all the good times and the good memories, and the more you think about the good times and remember the good times that you had, the more you keep those memories alive, and
yeah.
Your friendship with your friend doesn't die.
Yeah, it's something I'll remember for the rest of my life. Then try explaining that to somebody.
Yeah.
Well, I just got choked up.
So, in the stretch of time between year 2 and year 3, which we're sort of covering in this episode, was there anything else that was really out of the ordinary that sticks out in your memory as being something that should probably be included?
Well, it's just, I did notice that even where we were, where we'd stayed in the general area, fairly close to where I'd park,
mm-hmm.
There was certain areas that we wouldn't go to.
Oh, really?
Yeah, or we'd go a direction and then stop and come back, and we'd go over. There was just certain areas that we didn't go to, and that's where it was his area. He was there all the time. I went with it. I didn't ever force that issue. I didn't know why. I just knew that we didn't go over there. And it was about late summer is when I asked him over and over, where do you actually stay? Where's your home? Have you made a home? And he had always, tried to change the subject, but finally I convinced him to take me back in there. And so one day we finally did. Went way back in there. And it was about the end of that summer up there is when I finally got to go back to where he stayed when I wasn't there, that gets into what we talked about before, if you want me to go into that now.
Yeah.
And that very first night that I was back there in his area is when that happened and where that happened.
Okay, we'll just leave it right there then, and we'll start out the next episode with that whole really bad incident.
Because I'm choked up. I don't think I could do much more tonight. If I'd start talking about him, it's going to get me choked up again.
That's fine. That's enough trauma for you for one friggin' night. And the problem here isn't scary PTSD. The problem here is that you're thinking too much about all the good times you had with your friend. It makes you miss him. I'm not going to be seeing him again. And there's a couple, people that I really love that I just can't even hang around to them because they're just, their attitude has gotten so it's like they're not the person that I used to know.
Yeah, well, it's like my ex-wife. The woman that I saw, that I fell in love with, is no longer there, even though I see her.
Yeah, I know, that's the saddest. They mutate into some kind of icky thing. They started out being an awesome person. They turned into some kind of monster.
Yeah, I always loved the mother of my children, but I hadn't seen her in years. She was the Wicked Witch of the West. Then next time you got to let me say, don't hug the Wookiee.
Okay. All I have to do is ask. That's fine. I got a different. I'm looking for pictures of Wookiees all the time. I don't know if you noticed in the last one, I had a different one. I had the Wookiee with antlers on during the Christmas Wookiee. And I've had baby Wookiees. I got Wookiees with just got out of a doggy hospital head guard things on.
The collar of shame, the cone of shame.
The colors, the cone of shame, exactly. Yeah, I've got and I keep finding new ones all the time, so I always keep grabbing them. So that pretty much every episode I can put a different Wookiee image on there and don't hug the Wookiees. And actually a couple of the listeners have mentioned that too. I'm going to start calling them Wookiees. That's it.
Well, they're as smart as Wookiees.
Well, they basically are Wookiees. I don't know if you know the backstory on that, but that was George Lucas had acquaintances that were interested in Bigfoot, and he threw it into the show because he wanted there to be a Bigfoot-like character in Star Wars. That's where Wookiees came from. That's exactly what it's supposed to be. It's a space Bigfoot.
Space Bigfoot. Wuchanga the Bookie. Nice.
Yeah, Chewbacca the Wookiee is a space Bigfoot. So there you go.
Nice. You remember Spaceballs, Wuchanga the Bookie?
I don't think so. I'm not sure. You're talking about what the hell's his name?
John Candy.
Yeah, John Candy.
Yep.
Rick Moranis says Dark Helmet.
Yeah, Dark Helmet.
I was talking to one of my friends up in Alaska last night and got on the subject of like Mountain Man movies and mentioned Jeremiah Johnson. She's like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "Hello, you live in Alaska? You've never seen Jeremiah Johnson? What the hell's wrong with you? You even know and like what Monty Python and the Holy Grail is, and you've never heard of Jeremiah Johnson?"
Heard of Jeremiah Johnson. Yeah.
And this is somebody that had their little cabin out in the middle of nowhere in Alaska where they were living by themselves in the middle of the Alaskan Triangle of all bad places. Oh, Jesus. And with, like, right bordering two Bigfoot troops that didn't like each other.
Oh,
so,
man.
Even worse location. That's Sunny. She'll be on with more stories here. She's got some really freaky ones.
And if you can do something next summer, I would love to come up.
That's what we're trying to do, man. We're trying to arrange it so that, like, a lot of the people that have been guests on the show, I'll have the opportunity to have, like, a big family reunion, and everybody that's been on the show can all hang out and go camping together, and we'll go someplace innocuous like the Skulkaho where the mountain giants are, hang out there.
I was just going to say, I know where not to go.
Yeah, exactly. When I show you the 60-foot X structure, you'll be like, yeah, let's not go there.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to see the boulder stack? No, not particularly.
No. As far away from there as possible.
Oh, we can't 100 yards from it without knowing it.
Great.
Derp. Yeah, my skill, it's like Sunny said this too. She's got like some kind of weird supernatural power at finding Bigfoot, even though she doesn't want to. And I'm kind of the same way. It's like I have the ultimate superpower of being in the wrong place at the wrong time most of the time. So it's like if there's a monster around the area, I guarantee I'll just wander right up to where next to its cave and camp there. Pretty much the way it'll work out every time. Don't worry about finding the monster. Just let me randomly wander around and set up camp. That'll be right next to it.
Great. I'm not sure if I want to go camping with you.
But on the other hand, I'm really good at finding signs of Bigfoot.
Of course. You camp right in his bathroom.
I don't know if you've ever seen Patty Canyon 4 where we find that weird little gully during the winter and there's all those little squatchless structures all over it. Well, we're on that sort of hillside where it's been like partially logged off and looking around. We found that one little teepee structure. And I'm kind of looking at that, and Sarah's watching me, and I just turn around, and I look back at the wood line, and I go, there's something over that way. Let's go look over there. And what I was actually looking at is there was a deer trail. There was like a single track of a deer going across this snowy field. And so I watched which way the tracks were going, and as I was walking, following the tracks, I looked up, and there's a friggin' tree snap about 9 feet up. And I'm like, okay. So I don't say anything to her. I just keep walking forward, and I get over there, and I start walking around taking pictures of everything. She finds the tree snap. And then she's all like, you have Squatch powers. You can find them. No, I just went, okay, where's the deer going? Oh, this is probably where they usually walk. Yep, as it turned out, that was usually a deer trail. And it goes down through a little ravine. Oh, that's a great ambush spot. Let's go check over there. Yeah, there's already like deadfall piled in place to make a nice little ambush spot. There was a Bigfoot bed there. There's all these little structures. It's a Sasquatch rookery. Whoever's watching them is like sitting there waiting for a deer to go by.
There's a great Sasquatch ambush spot. Let's walk right through the middle of it. Hell no.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
I'm not going through that spot. There's probably one sitting there ready to ambush whatever comes through there. No.
Yeah. Exactly, that's why. But it's like during the winter, there's no signs of anything being around there. It's like there's nothing there right now. And it's daytime anyway. Let's go see what's going on. But this is all stuff that had been left there from the previous summer is finding. During the summer, they were up there in that nice shady little gully with a little squat, so it's letting them play. And they're sitting there behind the, little ambush spot waiting for a deer to wander by so they can snap its neck and feed them all. Multitasking.
Well, if you just tomorrow, the same time work for you?
Yeah, let's do the same thing. Assuming I get sick or something, we'll shoot for like 9:30 again tomorrow.
Okay. All right.
All right.
There's other stuff I thought about too that I hadn't thought about. I still haven't explained how I introduced him to a gun and the first time I ever shot it.
You should probably tell that too before you walk out there, because you're going to have to explain how you had a gun with you.
Yeah. Well, I always did, but that's something I just realized I barely touched on it, but then we got into other stuff. So I'll have to, prelude or got to go back a little bit about introducing him to actually seeing a gun and hearing it fire.
Well, you can just say, well, this is important to the part that's coming up here, so I got to explain to everybody about how I introduce him to guns again, hopefully without freaking him out.
Yep, and how I told him that it's not the gun that's bad, it's the people that were bad.
All right, well, thanks for trying to make it through the rest of the tale here. We're going to cut her off there for this episode. You guys are definitely going to want to tune in for the next one, because things sort of go south right about the time that he takes Kevin out to see where it is that he's actually living. So you don't want to miss the next episode, let's just say that. And otherwise, thanks everybody for listening in again. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll have more viewer questions on the next episode. In the meantime, pay it forward. Be kind to everyone else. Safety first, last, and always. And whatever you do, please do not hug the Wookiee. Have a great week, everyone. Bye.